evening and welcome to the school board meeting. I'd ask at this time that everyone would please make your way to your seats and silence your cell phones. Good evening, school board members, CCPS families, students, staff, and the Caroline County community. I, Dr. Jawanda Rollins-Fells, Chair of the Board, would like to call the April 11th, 2022 Caroline County School Board meeting to order. It is my privilege to welcome those attending here in person at Caroline Middle School, as well as those who may be viewing on our CCPS YouTube channel. Each provides an avenue for you to receive information, heightened education, awareness, and involvement. The school board is grateful for your attendance as we continue to move our school division forward in one direction as #OneCaroline. Again, welcome to the school board meeting, and now I would like to ask the clerk of the board to please call the roll.
Mr. Adam Swanton, Student School Board Representative. Mrs. Nancy Carson, representing Mattaponi District. Mr. Sean Kelly, representing the Madison District. Dr. Jawanda Rollins-Fells, representing the Reedy Church District. Dr. Sarah Calverick, Superintendent of Schools. Mr. George Spalding, representing the Bowling Green District. Mr. John Copeland, representing the Western Caroline District. Mr. Calvin Taylor, representing the Port Royal District. And I'm Lisa Stevens, Clerk of the Board. Madam Chair, we have a quorum.
Thank you. At this time, I'd ask Mr. Spalding to please lead us in the invocation, followed by our students from Lewis and Clark Elementary School with our Pledge of Allegiance.
Please stand. Gracious Heavenly Father, dear Lord, as we come tonight to work on our school system, Lord, we do the things that are best for the community and for our students, Lord. Be with us and have us make the correct decisions. Lord, we ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Thank you again to our students from Lewis and Clark Elementary and to the families for bringing your children out this evening. At this time, I'll accept a motion to review and approve the April 11, 2022 agenda.
Madam Chair, I move to amend the agenda to remove item 5E, recognition of Destination Imagination by Dr. Craig Reed, and approval of the rest of the agenda.
Second.
The motion has been made and properly second to amend our agenda by removing item 5E. Is there any other discussion? Hearing none, I'd ask the clerk to please call for the vote.
Mr. Kelly.
Aye.
Mrs. Carson.
Aye.
Mr. Copeland.
Aye.
Mr. Taylor.
Aye.
Dr. Rollins-Fells.
Aye, the motion carries and the agenda for this evening is approved. Our first agenda item is Pathways 2022 Spotlight Goal 3 with our Wow Moments. I'd ask that our senior leadership please come forward for the presentation this evening.
Great evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Rollins Fells, Vice Chair, Mr. Kelly, members of the board, and Dr. Calveric. It is a plum pleasing pleasure for Mr. Caldwell and I, as this evening we are elated to share wow moments that were implemented, built, and completed along our 5-year journey through Pathways 2022 of our strategic plan. Pathways 2022 has provided Caroline County Public Schools with a clear vision for the future and a blueprint for excellence in education over the past 5 years. Tonight, we say wow for wins, opportunities, and world-class achievements that have served as evidence and artifacts of growth for our school division. When we look good, we feel good, and we do good. And goodness is what #Caroline is all about. More specifically, this evening we will focus on Goal 3, Health and Safety, which encompasses crisis prevention and preparedness, facility maintenance, and mental health and wellness. 3.1, Crisis Prevention and Preparedness. To be prepared for and to prevent crisis, CCPS has implemented a number of improvements or initiatives. Due to being awarded the VA School Security Equipment Grant the last 2 years, Caroline County Public Schools has added a number of improvements to school security. These include anti-ballistic window film at schools, additional and/or improved security cameras, and two-way radios, exterior lighting improvements, upgraded PA system at Madison Elementary School and Caroline Middle Schools, enhanced security systems on buses, and proper classroom door hardware for security. And again, the updated clocks and security systems are underway at Caroline Middle School. Furthermore, CCPS subscribes to the Enforce 911 crisis notification system that allows all staff and the CCSO to be notified by any staff members if there is a crisis at a school. We also subscribe to the Stop It, which is an anonymous reporting program which allows students to notify counselors and administrators about concerning student behavior such as bullying or self-harm. With the latter program, Stop It provides 24/7 monitoring and will notify school staff if a report is made outside of school hours or during school closures. CCPS partners with Fire and Rescue, which trains school staffs on how to use the Stop the Bleed trauma kits, as well as the chairlift evacuation system that allows staff to safely assist wheelchair-bound students to exit from the second floor of a school. We also collaborate with the CCSO on Enforce 911 training, and members of both departments participate on the Safe and Drug-Free School Committee. Finally, administrators, counselors, social workers, psychologists, and our school resource officers have been trained in conducting threat assessments by a leading expert in the field who is provided free of charge by the Department of Criminal Justice Services. And at this time, I will turn it over to Mr. Caldwell.
Objective 3.2, facility maintenance. Our goal is to implement proactive measures that result in well-maintained, modernized school facilities with reliable technology and infrastructures. Evaluate, plan, and implement a systematic facilities modernization approach to address school physical needs, security, fire safety, HVAC, playgrounds, landscaping, and routine maintenance. The maintenance department has completed various upgrades, renovations, and updates to all facilities throughout CCPS, including renovations and upgrades to the annex building, division-wide safety ADA access, security lighting, fire alarm upgrades, as well as improvements to the track, courtyard, and playgrounds at Madison Elementary. At the Lotus Academy, we have refreshed the facility with paint, lighting, fire alarm, furniture, and sidewalk improvements, which have allowed our most at-promised students to thrive. The maintenance fleet has also been upgraded with the addition of a new dump truck, service vehicles, and ground equipment. CMS entered into a performance energy contract that allowed us to install a new boiler system. Additional wins include bleacher enhancements and playing field improvements at CMS and CHS. And everyone loves the new gym floor at CMS. We also celebrate the numerous upgrades throughout the division, such as the removal of modular classrooms, furniture replacement, and improved fencing and parking lot painting.
And last but not least, but very important, goal 3.3, mental health and wellness. Thank you, Mr. Caldwell. And again, when you look good, you do good, and you feel good. And here in Caroline County Public Schools, we believe that all learning is social and emotional, and Pathways 2022 brought many initiatives enhancing our ability to support students and staff. Virginia Tiered Systems of Support, or VTSS, defines the universal, strategic, and intensive supports across academics, behavior, and social and emotional learning within each of our buildings. Every school has a VTSS champion and team that ensures building expectations are taught, modeled, posted, monitored, and positively reinforced each quarter. The CCPS Social and Emotional Learning Framework outlines our commitment to supporting every student's well-being to drive student success in school and in life. All 3 elementary schools and middle schools have selected and implemented curriculum specific to social and emotional learning. BGE and Madison Elementary used Mine Up, Lewis and Clark uses Stanford Harmony, and Caroline Middle School uses the Second Step program through their advisory block. While Caroline High School has implemented student surveys to ensure every student is connected to an adult in the building to ensure social, emotional, academic support is provided when needed in their pathway to being 3E ready upon graduation. We have also increased the implementation of positive behavior intervention and supports, which creates consistency of expectations. Student behavior is tracked and monitored through our SWIS system, our behavior tracking system, which allows active, data-driven decisions to support student behavior across all environments. SWIS helps us to identify where, when, and with whom behaviors occur. Being able to identify the time, place, and most significant problematic behaviors allow school teams to make data-driven decisions to improve the overall safety and well-being of all students and staff. Prior to and during the pandemic, every employee spent time learning about trauma and how to be sensitive to the needs of our students who have had severe childhood experiences, as well as addressing the collective trauma of school closures during a global pandemic. To support these initiatives, we now have school social workers and family engagement coordinators at every school. The wellness of our staff is also a priority. The Employee Assistant Program is available to all staff, not just those accessing our insurance plan. And wellness champions at every school lead the charge on activities that encourage employee wellness for all. In 2018-19, Dr. Allison Sampson Jackson presented to our entire division on trauma-informed care, which highlighted the use of peace corners, restorative justice practices, and the power of relationships, which our schools immediately embraced. We then launched our social and emotional website, anchored in the research-based framework of CASTLE, the Collaborative for Academic and Social Emotional Learning, that fosters mindfulness and empathy, promotes a growth mindset and attitude, cultivates an environment of trust and healing, encourages mental and emotional health, and provides supportive resources and programs pre-K to 12. We believe the development of the SEL framework not only enhances the performance, skills, and intelligence in our students, but prepares students for success in the classroom, workplace, community, family, friendships, and our global society. Through our work and focus on mental health, SEL, and wellness, CCPS is proud to recognize all schools as being trauma-informed, making us a trauma-informed school division. Through this work and our ongoing efforts as we move into our new strategic plan, we hope to see improved academic performance, greater student and parent engagement, positive peer and teacher relationships, decreased disciplinary actions, reduced dropout rates, and decreased behavioral challenges. CCPS is already seen as a leader in this work, as Mrs. Haley, Mrs. Keener, Mrs. Griggs, Mrs. Brown, Mrs. Hicks, and Mrs. Hextall presented on the CCPS Virginia Tier Systems of Support Journey at the WELV Conference. That's Women Education Leaders in Virginia. And in February, and received raving reviews from across the Commonwealth. And just last week, our Lotus Academy was selected by the VDOE to move forward in creating a webinar highlighting the effective alternative schools and programs in Virginia. So our teamwork will continue to make our hashtag One Caroline Dream work in the areas of mental health, social and emotional learning, and wellness. And I just want to close, and we just want to close by saying together, we will ensure all students and staff are physically, socially, and emotionally safe and well as being academically prepared to be 3E ready, enrolled, enlisted, and employed. We are proud, and we are hashtag One Caroline. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Monroe, on our Pathways 2022 spotlight. The next section of our agenda will focus on a celebration of youth art. At this time, I'd ask Dr. Monroe to please come forward with the recognition of Youth Art Month.
Dr. Rollins-Fells, Vice Chair Kelly, members of the board, and Dr. Kelverick. Tonight, I'm pleased to open our recognition section with a CCPS celebration of the arts. The Council for Art Education Administrators Youth Art Month. Youth Art Month encourages support for quality school art programs and promotes the art material safety. The Council for Art Education administers the program at the national level. The program provides a medium for recognizing skills developed through visual art experiences unlike any other curriculum subjects, including problem solving, creativity, observation, and communication. The 2021-2022 theme was Art Connects Us. It states that 1, recognize art education as a valuable factor in the total education curricular that develops citizens of a global society. 2, recognize art is a necessity for the full development of better quality of life for all. 3, direct attention to the value of art education for a divergent and critical thinking. 4, expand art programs in schools and stimulate new art programs. 5, encourage commitment to the arts by students, community organizations, and individuals everywhere. 6, provide additional opportunities for individuals of all ages to participate in creative art learning. 7, increase community, business, and governmental support for art education. 8, increase community understanding and interest in art and art education through involvement in art exhibits, workshops, and other creative venues. And 9, reflect and demonstrate the goals of the National Art Education Association that work toward the improvement of art education at all levels. We appreciate the daily work of our outstanding art teachers, and now Dr. Reed will recognize some of our amazing art students.
Dr. Reed.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Rollins-Fells, Vice Chair, Mr. Kelly, members of the board, and Dr. Calverick. As we continue with our celebration of Youth Art Month, I'm honored to share our Caroline County Public School Division Art winners. Each spring at the VSBA Regional Spring Network Working Forums, an art contest is held to showcase art from the region. Each school division submits an elementary, middle, and high school entry. The artwork is judged, and artwork selected for first place is shared throughout the year with the membership and spotlighted at the annual convention.
CCPS would like to take a moment to congratulate the elementary, middle, and high school division winners. Please come forward, Presley Coleman. Her artwork, Winter Cardinal, from Lewis and Clark Elementary. Tyra Cabrera, Middle School Division winner, Turtles, Bliss, Caroline Middle School. And for our high school division winner, Randy Roel, self-portrait. Congratulations to our outstanding art students, and thank you for representing CCPS at the VSBEA Eastern Regional level. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Reed and Mrs. Haley. And to conclude our art portion of our celebration this evening, I'd ask Dr. Calveric to please present the Superintendent's Art Honor of the Month.
Good evening, Chair Dr. Rollins-Fells, Vice Chair Kelly, and members of the board. Exposure to art is critical to the development of every child. Art not only teaches students how to express themselves in creative and individual ways, but students who participate in regular and related activities perform better academically, develop greater confidence, and sharpen their fine motor skills. Beyond these benefits, art education promotes problem solving, critical thinking, perseverance, growth mindset, collaboration, focus, and accountability. All power skills CCPS graduates need to be 3E ready, enrolled, enlisted, and/or employed. Our Lewis and Clark art teacher, Ms. Stephanie Rowe, is here this evening and will now come forward to introduce the Superintendent's Student Art Honor for April 2022. Please come forward, Ms. Rowe.
Good evening, school board members. I am so happy to be here and be able to present the Student Artist of the Month from Lewis and Clark Elementary, Janelle Jones. Janelle is an all-around amazing fifth grade student. She is kind and considerate to everyone around her and is always dedicated to doing her best work in art.
Congratulations, Janelle, and to all of our students who are recognized for your amazing artwork. We are going to keep our awards and recognitions rolling with Karen Foster. I'll put the doctor on it.
Thank you.
With the recognition of our third quarter ABCD awards.
Thank you, and good evening, Dr. Rollins-Fells, Vice Chair Kelly, members of the board, and Dr. Calveric. I am so excited to be here this evening to recognize staff who are nominated for and who are being awarded the third quarter Above and Beyond the Call of Duty Awards, or simply ABCD Awards. The ABCD Award recognizes all employees who go above and beyond the call of duty in performing their job responsibilities. Employees include teachers, administrators, support staff, office professionals, instructional assistants, nurses, nutrition services, transportation, and maintenance. Once nominated, nominees are evaluated on one or more of the following criteria: made a significant contribution that improved job efficiency, improved quality of services, improved safety, or conserved resources. performed a humanitarian or heroic act, responded proactively by anticipating the needs and solving problems without specific direction. Our first ABCD nominee and award winner this evening is Miss Vikki Washington from Technology. Mr. Robinson wrote, Vikki Washington is such an asset to our CCPS staff. She embodies the #OneCaroline slogan. She manages to keep abreast of every aspect of the Department of Technology and Innovation across all 5 schools. She helps anyone and everyone that needs assistance and maintains the morale of the department. If there is a Vikki, there is a way. Her calm demeanor and willingness help to shine through every task. She jumps in whenever she can, and no task is too great or small. She puts needs of everyone around her before her own. Ms. Washington will voluntarily attend meetings or troubleshoot problems on her days off. Ms. Washington is a total team player at all times. She is an example of what complete help desk tickets and troubleshoots for schools when a technician is out or the school needs assistance. She will meet or talk with parents needing assistance picking up items. She has ensured that parents picking up items for virtual learning receive the appropriate materials and knowledge. On any given day, Ms. Washington will complete POs, process claims, answer phones at the reception, troubleshoot devices, fix devices. She manages to provide excellent customer service to technicians, teachers, building leaders, and staff members, as well as voluntarily take on tasks to fill in for others. Her answer is always the same: let me see what I can do. Her collaborative efforts help us experience success throughout every project or process. She goes above and beyond daily as a tremendous asset to Caroline County Public Schools. At this time, let's give Ms. Washington a round of applause. Our next award recipient is Mr. Jonathan Tierney, Caroline Middle School teacher. Ms. Beth Burnap wrote, Mr. Tierney has been instrumental in supporting the 6th grade math classes in the absence of a full-time teacher, in addition to supporting the new hire who has taken over the classes. Jonathan recorded his lessons to share with students through Schoology and made sure that each class had grade-level appropriate work to complete during the absence of their full-time teacher. He was hired to fill a vacancy until the end of the year, and Mr. Jonathan Tierney immediately stepped up to provide him with support. Mr. Tierney has worked with him daily to lesson plan using Schoology and has helped him get acclimated to the building and Caroline County Public Schools. He truly has gone above and beyond in the interest of both students and new teacher success. At this time, we'd like to welcome Mr. Tierney down to receive his award. Ms. Burnap, would you like to come up too? And Ms. Griggs? To say, Ms. Burnap, come on in the picture as well. Yeah. And you've got one more, Kim. Thank you. Also this evening, we would like to recognize another Caroline Middle School teacher, Mr. Sean Granham, who is dialing in right now through our YouTube channel, and Mrs. Griggs will accept his award on his behalf. Catherine Wilson writes, Mr. Granham is my collaborative teacher for U.S. History 2, and I feel incredibly lucky to work with such dedicated and caring teacher. He works tirelessly to support students academically, socially, and emotionally. Just the other day, a student who is not in our collab class seemed upset in the hallway. Mr. Granham took notice and reached out. He then took the time to walk the student to our assistant principal for support. The student returned to my classroom ready to learn after receiving such support. This is just one of the many ways of how Mr. Granham goes above and beyond for any Caroline student. I'm a first-year teacher, and having such an experienced, a hard-working, collaborative teacher has been incredibly helpful. I've learned so much from him and have appreciated his patience and grace working with a novice teacher to support our students the best we can. He is always willing to offer ideas for how we can improve, and he does so in an encouraging manner. He is a valuable addition to our CMS team and an exemplary teacher. Additionally, he was nominated by Mr. John LaPointe, who said, "I would like to nominate my co-teacher, Sean Granham. He teaches collaborative English at CMS with me during 2nd, 3rd, and 6th block. I am nominating him because his consistent energy, support, and commitment to our students. He cares deeply, and that is evident on a daily basis. He is always willing to go out of his way to help a student in need. Mr. Granham is regularly pulling students for one-on-one instruction, creating guided, differentiated examples of and organizers for our students with disabilities, motivating students through words of affirmation, discussing and planning with team members, all while balancing the difficult IEP schedules. I am blessed to call him my co-teacher. Go, Mr. G. So, Mr. G, we applaud you this evening and are happy to have Mrs. Griggs accept this award on your behalf. My apologies, I got swept up in the moment as we were recognizing those who received awards this evening. We would also like to recognize and congratulate Ms. Rachel Blockovich, Amanda Fletcher, Rachel Wheeler, Sarah Bradley, and Ms. Gloria on their nominations. Please keep up the good work, and we'll be back next quarter with our 4th quarter recipients. Thank you.
Congratulations to all of the ABCD award winners. At this time, we'd ask Ms. Haley to come forward with our recognition of the Next Generation Leadership Academy.
Great evening. Madam Chair, Dr. Rollins-Fales, Vice Chair, Mr. Kelly, members of the board, and Dr. Calveric. I am excited to be before you to recognize our graduates of CCPS's 2nd cohort of the Next Generation Leadership Academy. Also known as NGLA, it is hosted by the Center of Leadership and Education at the University of Richmond. NGLA has a long history of designing the extensive and meaningful professional development for educational leaders throughout the Richmond area. Today, we recognize and celebrate our CCPS participants for their successful completion of the Next Generation Leadership Academy. Please come forward as I call your name. Mrs. Amanda Fletcher. Mrs. Jamie Pruitt. And Mr. Travis Billups, who could not be with us today. We celebrate them as they were part of a regional collaboration of approximately 50 current and aspiring leaders representing Richmond, Amelia, Chesterfield, Goochland, Hanover, Henrico, and Powhatan. We thank each of you for representing Caroline. Outstanding.
Congratulations, ladies, and thank you for representing our community. Ms. Haley, would you please come back to the podium, and at this time, we will recognize Assistant Principals Week.
Great evening. Madam Chair, Dr. Rollins-Fales, Vice Chair, Mr. Kelly, members of the board, and Dr. Calveric. National Assistant Principals Week was April 4th through 8th, 2022. CCPS joins the National Association of Elementary and Secondary School Principals and the American Federation of School Administrators in honoring the numerous contributions of assistant principals to student success. We recognize and applaud their unwavering leadership in our schools, and we would like to publicly extend our gratefulness for their commitment to our students and our community. CCPS salutes our assistant principals. Please come forward as your name is called. Christy Thomas, of BGE. Christy was unable to attend, but we may applaud. Lindsay Rose was also unable to attend tonight. Lindsay Rose is the assistant principal of Madison Elementary. At Lewis and Clark, we have Becky Elam. Please come forward. And Jeff White. They're in order. In addition, we have Darlene Keener, Dean of Lotus Academy. Come forward. Susan Tuholsky of CMS. Rachel Wheeler, also of CMS. And Ray Hancock, come on down, of CMS. At the high school, we have Elizabeth Markwood, come on down. And our other three leaders of the high school were unable to attend. We do know that spring sports are happening at this time, but we'd like to recognize Jill Goddard, Travis Billups, and Ashley Ward. We thank each of you for working alongside and being so impactful in your leadership.
Thank you again to our assistant principals at all of our schools. Ms. Haley, you're back up again, and this time we are going to recognize the 2022 Commonwealth of Virginia finalists for the Presidential Awards for Excellence in Math and Science Teaching.
Great evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Rollins-Fels, Vice Chair, Mr. Kelly, members of the board, and Dr. Calveric. The Superintendent of Public Instruction, Jillian Baulau, announced Virginia's finalists for the 2022 Presidential Award for Excellence in Mathematics and Science Teaching. The award, regarded as the nation's top honor for math and science teachers, recognizes educators who develop and implement high-quality instructional programs that improve student learning in mathematics and science. CCPS is honored to announce kindergarten teacher Miss Sarah Flippin as one of the Commonwealth's 3 finalists. Come on down. Ms. Flippin was selected by the review committee convened by Virginia Department of Education. Stay up here just while we brag on you a little bit. Thank you. Ms. Flippin, we are so honored and we're proud of your hard work that has earned this great accomplishment. Superintendent Baulau said, Balo, I'm so sorry, Balo. She said, quote, Virginia's 2022 finalists engaged their students with hands-on instruction that reveals how math and science surround them every day, regardless of who they are or where they are. They believe that all students learn and achieve more when challenged and encouraged to meet high expectations in math and science, end quote. Ms. Sarah Flippin, you embody those statements, and CCPS is eagerly awaiting the White House to announce the awardee of the 2022 Presidential Award for Excellence in Mathematics and Science Teaching. We're believing for you to be that candidate to bring home that $10,000 unrestricted award from the National Science Foundation. Congratulations, Sarah.
We would be remiss not to recognize Sarah's mother is here with her this evening. And I don't know if you are an educator by trade, but we know that Ken Flippin, her father, is an educator and worked for years in Caroline. So you drew good genes, Sarah, and we're so thrilled to have you on our team. Thanks for being with us tonight, and congratulations.
Yes, congratulations. And I just want to belabor the point just a little bit longer, because we're not talking about a regional or a local award. We're talking about a state award with the opportunity to be recognized by the White House. And so congratulations, you are representing us well, and you are representing all of our teachers who do amazing work every day. So congratulations to you. We will now have Dr. Craig Reed to come forward with our recognition of technical skills assessment winners.
Good evening. Madam Chair, Dr. Rollins-Fell, Mr. Vice Chair Kelly, members of the board, and Dr. Calveric. Most recently, our Technology Students Association organization at Caroline High School received several awards at the South Central Regional Conference. At this time, we would like to recognize the following students who are here who won awards at this conference. Camden Andrews, please come forth. And also Haneen Nolan. Yes.
Mr. Black, could you please come forward?
Please pardon my oversight. They are led by the fabulous Mr. Neil Black. Thank you.
Thank you. We can give those students and Mr. Black, thank you for coming up, sir, and being recognized. And students, you look really sharp. I don't know who coordinated that, but you look really good.
That would be Mr. Black. Good evening, Dr. Rollins-Fells, member of the school board, and Dr. Calveric. More than 20 Caroline High School students answered the call to be Junior Achievement High School Heroes. These students spent 3 days inspiring fifth grade students to take charge of their future at our 3 CCPS elementary schools. Junior Achievement High School Heroes delivered the JA program and shared experiences from their CTE courses to get the fifth grade students excited about the opportunities that Caroline County has to offer. All while the elementary school students came up with innovative and creative solutions to real-world problems and played games to learn the soft skills desired by employers. At this point, before I bring the students up, I'd like to recognize, although I don't believe she was able to attend tonight, Ms. Sadler, Stephanie Sadler from the high school, who partnered with me in getting this off the ground. So I would like to recognize the students that are with us this evening. We have a big list. Jaden Lewis. Carson Lyons. Trish Maples. Trenton Pitts. Zoe Shepherd Lake. Kelsey Seward. Sean Terrell. David Usher. And Shirai Williams. And I understand someone slipped in from her tennis match, and that would be Malayla Courtney. Sorry, Malayla. If any other students, is there anybody else that came in? Oh, well, come on up. Delaney Thomas. We'll do this one and we'll fix that. These students were outstanding teachers, so future teachers here. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Markwood, and congratulations to all of our junior achievement students. And thank you to our student athletes for coming over as well. We have one more award and recognition to distribute this evening, and I'd ask that Dr. Reed would please come forward for our recognition of CMS and CHS FFA members.
Yes. Good evening, Madam Chair Rollins-Feld, Mr. Vice Chair Kelly, members of the board, and Dr. Calveric. Career and technical education is an integral part of the culture and fabric of Caroline County Public Schools. At this time, I would like to present our FFA winners at Caroline Middle School and Caroline High School, and they are led by Mr. Hunter Gravitt at the high school and Ms. Kendall Rogers at the middle school. Please come forth when I call your name. Yes, yes. Please come forth. Abby Mayo. Billy Blevins. Bradley Young. Caitlin Lepp. Callum Mundy. Shandon Ham. Eddie Calhoun. Garrett Brady. Holly Shebel. Bland. Lawrence Wade. Reagan Forehand. Ricky Cannon. Robert McLid. Rory Twiner. Sarah Rowe. Tyler Calhoun. Will Carter. Thank you.
Congratulations to all of our winners or those that were being recognized this evening. Thank you so much for coming out this evening. At this time, I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
The motion has been made and properly seconded to approve the consent agenda. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'd ask the clerk to please call for the vote.
Aye.
Mr. Copeland?
Aye.
Mrs. Carson?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Mr. Spalding? Dr. Rollins-Fells?
Aye, the motion carries. The consent agenda is approved. At this time, we will move to our information from the district, and I'd ask that Ms. Haley and Ms. Ross please come on up to present our kindergarten and preschool registration enrollment update.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Rollins-Fells, Vice Chair, Mr. Kelly, school board members, and Dr. Calveric. This evening, Mrs. Haley, Director of Elementary, and I will share a brief overview of the preschool enrollment and kindergarten registration process. We will also highlight the success of the Link online management system, which has enhanced our registration and enrollment process. Preschool registration began on Tuesday, February 22nd for the 22-23 school year, and to date, we have approximately 122 families that have applied across all 3 elementary schools for our 3- and 4-year-old programs. Our successful launch can be attributed to the various modes of communication, such as posting on our CCPS website, Facebook, along with displaying flyers in the community and sending school messenger calls and emails. We encourage families that have a child who will turn 3 or 4 by September 30th, 2022 to apply for our program. Preschool is a wonderful opportunity for our youngest learners to develop and grow in a structured setting. CCPS looks forward to welcoming new preschoolers in August.
Thank you, Mrs. Ross. Kindergarten registration opened Wednesday, March 23rd for all children who will be 5 years old by September 30th. So excited. If a child currently is enrolled in Head Start or preschool, it's important for parents to know that they are still required to register their child for kindergarten. Kindergarten registration requirements are as follows: child's official certified birth certificate, 2 proofs of residency, school entrance health form, photo ID for the parent or legal guardian, and IEP if applicable. All registration forms are on the CCPS website and available at our elementary schools. Parents or guardians who may not have all the required documents just yet, don't worry, because they still may begin the process for registration. Our school registrars have been busy receiving the required documents and setting up student screenings to conclude the registration process. During the month of April, each of our elementary schools will advertise their hosting of registration screening days, and parents may find additional information on the school website or contact the school registrars. Parents who register early will obtain invaluable information to help them prepare our students for this important milestone. They may also pick up these particular pamphlets that we have available for them. Getting Your Child Ready for Kindergarten is the title. They may pick those up at any of our Caroline schools. A positive experience for our kindergartners awaits every child who will be 5 years old by September 30th. Sorry. CCPS offers online registration. So we utilize an online data secure system which streamlines the application registration process for our families. It allows parents an easy way to upload the required documents, and school registrars and families a seamless two-way communication, all while reducing the environmental footprint. Online registration is recommended, and for interested families, they must visit our CCPS website and look for exactly what you see there, those little links, those little swipes, blue and red displayed on our screen. This is our second year utilizing the online process, and we have experienced, like Ms. Ross said, much success. We highly recommend that early submission of preschool applications and kindergarten registrations. We are ready, very ready, to connect with all preschool and kindergarten students to lay the strong foundational skills in literacy, numeracy, writing, motor skills, communication, and social interactions in the fall. Thank you. Any questions?
Are there any questions from the board? Hearing none, I will say thank you, and I'm looking forward to registering my little one for kindergarten.
Yay!
That's right. We will now have Mrs. Foster come forward with our classroom coverage compensation update. Excuse me, I stand corrected. Thank you, Mr. Kelly. First, present recruitment and retention, and then while you're here, we'll move into classroom coverage.
Sounds great, thank you. Good evening once again, Madam Chair Dr. Rollins-Fells, Vice Chair Kelly, members of the board, and Dr. Calveric. This evening I will provide you with a brief overview of the work being done in Caroline County Public Schools associated with recruitment and retention. This evening I will provide a recruitment update, information on retention strategies, and next steps. Our first focus is on recruitment. Since the 2018-2019 school year, there has been a 62% increase in critical shortage teaching positions nationally, with teacher enrollment in traditional teacher preparation programs in colleges decreasing by 35 to 40%. At the beginning of the 21-22 school year, there were over 1,400 unfilled positions in Virginia alone, which makes it critical to recruit proactively and adaptively. Recruitments for positions is now a year-long process for both operation and instructions, so we are able to fill vacancies early and attract the best candidates. This year, we have hosted dedicated on-site and virtual events. We have attended over a dozen job fairs, casting a wide net across the state of Virginia to recruit teachers for the upcoming school year. We have also engaged in virtual fairs and platforms such as Indeed, allowing us access to more and more teachers throughout the state across the nation. We are finding that virtual events and platforms are the best way to connect with our Gen Z population early. We have been able to provide sign-on monies for hard-to-fill positions. We provide assistance with tuition reimbursement, credentialing, and licensure. And we continue to extend our reach through information sessions for the community, expanding our reach through the internet, social media presence, increasing partnerships with colleges and universities, providing information directly to them and their students, as well as participating in their advisory meetings. We have begun planning a pipeline in career development for staff and will look to hire recent Cavalier Nation graduates by partnering with our CTE programs to fill needs in both operations and instructions, allowing for more focused time with candidates and helping to continue to build connections. Equally, if not more important, is our focus on the retention of the staff through incentives and supports within Caroline County Schools. Once we have a staff member, we want to keep them here for the duration of their career. Looking at current retention strategies, some of the following strategies have been implemented this year. With relief funds, we've been able to compensate staff by offering referral bonuses for transportation employees, as well as work with our contracted substitute company for substitute referrals. CCPS has been providing compensation for class coverages when substitutes are not secured, which we'll go over in the next presentation, while we continue to seek and identify additional funds for staff compensation. Our novice teachers are provided additional support from our new Teacher Academy and mentor program led by our instructional specialist, which ensure intentional supports that are put in place for our new to career teachers who come from a traditional or an alternative pathway. Assistant principals have quarterly administrative check-ins to continue to build capacity with our senior staff members who are providing job-embedded development and support. ESS, who sources substitutes, has worked to provide financial incentives for the number of assignments accepted, among others, and is partnering with CCPS to find ways for substitutes to become full-time teachers. With the help from our HR generalist, an increased focus and work related on employee wellness has taken place this year in providing in-person and virtual activities and opportunities that are aligned with the staff survey results from our fall, as well as there has been a creation of a monthly wellness newsletter. We are increasing resources on our website and developing partnerships to increase employee discounts, which is also found on our website and readily accessible for all staff. Thanks to your approval, there were some wellness days that were added into the calendar to support the unique needs for this school year. Finally, schools and divisions have extended opportunities to recognize employee contributions and performance, both in informal and formal platforms, to include awards such as tonight's ABCD Awards, or shout-outs on websites, newsletters, and social media. That being said, there's much more work to be done, and we're excited to expand our efforts more next year. Next steps. As we have a solid foundation for recruitment and retention, there is still a lot left to do as we want to make sure that we continue to strengthen strategies and resources to recruit and retain a diverse, highly effective workplace. Focusing on recruitment, we are continuing to expand our reach through long-term approaches with university programs and colleges in the Commonwealth. We are supporting pathways for interested non-certified staff to obtain their teaching certification to include some of our paraeducators. We continue to explore pipelines in career development for staff members as well as community members. And we will continue to partner and develop a deeper partnership with our current CTE programs and operations to create pathways for high school graduates for employment within Caroline County Public Schools, whether part-time or full-time. And because we don't just want to bring great talent here, we want to grow and keep the talent. Here are some things that are already in the works to support retention of staff. We are expanding our onboarding experiences for all employees to include a 90-day plan. Institute formal succession plans and targeted talent planning with our leaders when we know hard-to-fill vacancies will open. Expand our talent and leadership opportunities to staff in all areas that wish to continue to grow within Caroline County Public Schools. Enhance community partnership to support employees. Create a platform for ongoing two-way communication to explore new opportunities. Continue and expand employee engagement, recognition, strategic feedback opportunities in order to best identify the needs of our staff and value the voice of our employees. Finally, we look to continue to enhance the total compensation packages for our employees and future employees. In order to ensure Caroline County Public Schools has the best and brightest within our midst, we are committed to talent acquisition through forecasting, recruitment, and hiring. Talent acceleration through our onboarding and mentoring programs, and talent advancement through training, coaching, and evaluation to strengthen our talent landscape and improve student outcomes. Thank you. At this time, do you have any questions?
Are there any questions from board members on retention and recruitment?
I do. I have a question.
Mr. Taylor?
Do you have a number of openings that are now a part of the county? Can you give us an idea of how many openings?
So right now, we are still learning about new openings for the upcoming school years. We do have some staff members that have been offered opportunities in neighboring divisions, and they have indicated they're leaving Caroline County, not because they don't love our county, but because of our compensation right now. That being said, we are looking at potentially hiring 30 to 40 new employees for the upcoming school year. I will provide you a detailed list of our turnover rate as well as our current vacancies, but I want to make sure I have that in front of me to give you that exact number.
Okay. Are you noticing a particular area as far as having openings are concerned?
So what's interesting, as I said, statistics are showing that there is over 60% increase in critical needs areas. 10 years ago, critical needs areas were math, science, and special education. Critical needs areas now that have been defined by the Board of Education include all areas, which is very concerning. Within Caroline County, what we are seeing is the need for math teachers, which we are happy to help provide alternative pathways to become a math teacher, as well as special educators. So as we are moving forward, we're looking at a variety of ways to engage our community members that might not have gone into the teaching profession, but might want to be a teacher. And so we're looking at ways to make it an easy transition that's supported to bring people into the classroom that might not have had the traditional teaching route in terms of college, but have degrees and skill sets that would be very advantageous to our students in the classroom.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Hearing no other discussion, thank you, Mrs. Foster, for that update, and we will continue to keep an eye on our numbers and how we're trending for the upcoming school year.
Absolutely, and for our community members, we are going to be out in the community in the near future talking about some of our operations positions available, as well as teaching positions where you might be able to come on board through an alternative pathway. So thank you.
At this time, will you present the classroom coverage compensation update?
I certainly will. Good evening for the last time, Madam Chair Dr. Rollins-Fells, Vice Chair Kelly, members of the board, and Dr. Calveric. Tonight I will be providing you our monthly update associated with compensation for classroom coverage for unfilled positions, which allows for supervision and safety for our students, as well as learning during the 21-22 school year. Tonight's information will meet the following objectives. I will provide an overview of the data associated with compensation, provide an update on available ESSER funds, and provide information associated with compensation for classroom coverage through March 12th, excuse me, I'm getting ahead of myself, 2022, our last payroll period. Before reviewing the monies, I wanted to make sure that I provided you numbers associated with unfilled teacher and para positions from the past 4 months, focusing in this month on March which was 475 absences. This is 253 more absences requiring fills than in the month of February. And again, our compensation associated with those absences only go through mid-month, as you'll see on the next chart, because of payroll periods. As you will see, staff was compensated $20,945.46 during our last pay period, spanning from February 13th to March 12th, for a total of $94,146.64 in compensation for classroom coverage. Again, this does not include March absences between March 13th and 31st, which will be paid out at the end of April. Compensation associated with classroom coverage to provide supervision and support these unfilled vacancies has, as you can see, been declining the monies that we began with at $200,000. At the end of the pay cycle in March, there are $105,853.36 remaining of monies, with 3 pay cycles remaining, or 47%, not inclusive of the most recent pay period ending April 9th, that are currently being processed. Based upon submitted timesheets, which were submitted through mid-March, we have a little more than half of the monies remaining from the ESSER grant, or $105,853.36. Based upon current financials, we will continue to maintain the current rate for compensation for the pay through the next cycle and reevaluate if we are able to continue this through the remainder of this fiscal year 22. Thank you, and I look forward to providing you with an update next month. At this time, do you have any questions?
Are there any questions from the board?
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Spalding?
Do we still have this, excuse me, the sub company working for?
We do. They have been recruiting. We actually began the school year at a severe deficit in terms of the number of substitutes that they had hired. They had not hired substitutes during the 2021 school year because most schools were virtual, and we were able to hire our own subs locally. We do have a contract with them currently, which we are in review to determine whether or not we will continue utilizing them as a service.
Are they expecting higher standards or something or other on these people coming?
They have been actively recruiting. So as we see a decrease in or an increase in vacancies in teaching positions throughout the state, they are seeing that same trend in terms of the number of people that they are able to bring on with them as a service. So that is a struggle that they've had. We started the year where they had, I think it was about 20 subs that were available for our county, also for other counties that we're competing with who pay at a higher rate. And now we are up to about 48 substitutes. So they've more than doubled. But when you look at the number of vacancies that we are having on a monthly basis, it's very difficult for them to meet that need.
Does our contract run out into the school year?
We will be reevaluating. Any decisions that we make will need to be made prior to May 31st. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
Are there any other questions from the board? I would just like to follow up, and we can do this at another time, with looking at some of the strategies in engaging higher ed. We know it's a national teacher shortage. We know that the enrollment is down, but I think that we need to tell the story and attract people back to this profession. We know it's a challenging time, but I think this is just indicative of the cycle, not having teachers and then not having subs. The other thing I would be interested in knowing, and I don't know if we collect the data in this way, is the type of absences that are happening. Are these sick leave absences? Is this personal leave? just so that as a board, we have a sense of the pulse of what's going on.
Certainly. So first, I'm going to tell you what I'm excited about in terms of promoting teaching as a profession in education. The fact that we have brought Teachers for Tomorrow back to the high school is a huge win. And we are really focusing in on developing those students who are in there or hear about it to engage them in pursuing a degree in teaching or an associate's degree where they come on as a paraeducator. We are also partnered with Longwood University, where we've got some students who will be visiting next April or next Friday, I believe it's April 21st, the Call Me Mr. program, which is also supporting minorities and first generation college students in the area of teaching. So I agree with you 100%. We are not waiting for colleges now to invite us to job fairs, et cetera. We're posting on their social media. We are reaching out to see if we can get in front of kids in their classroom. For instance, Christopher Newport this year only had 23 students that were graduating from their teaching program, which that's alarming. So as we're moving forward, we know that as we're pursuing and promoting with our young people going into the field of education, we also have people who are middle-aged that didn't know that they could be a teacher because they've got a degree in something else. And so equally, we're making sure that we're reaching out to that population who wants to make a difference and impact students' lives. And then the follow-up, we are working right now, and I've actually asked ESS to help buildings run some reports so that way our building level leaders can really get into the weeds and see some trends. And I know that they're already having some conversations regarding some of the patterns that they've seen.
Wonderful. So what is the call to action that you want the community to hear based on everything that you've shared? If you can bullet point it, what are you looking for and what do you want them to do?
Certainly. So if you are interested in working for Caroline County Public Schools and might not know what you're interested in, whether it's being a bus driver, whether it's being an aide, whether it's being a teacher, please contact our Human Resources Department. We are happy to sit down and have conversations with you to determine how you might be an amazing fit. And so with that, we've got some colleges who are partnering with us to help people with education. We are providing financial incentives and supports for people who might just need to take a praxis test and they can come on and be a provisional teacher. But if you come to us, what we are doing is we're really making sure that we are developing a comprehensive support system so that way you are feeling supported as you are supporting the kids in your classroom, on your bus, or coming through your lunch line.
I appreciate it. Well, you heard it there first, right here at the school board meeting. A great advertisement. Thank you, Mrs. Foster.
Thank you.
For your updates. At this time, I'd ask Ms. Margaret Bryant to please come forward for an update on our virtual academy for 2022-23. Good evening.
Good evening, Madam Chairperson, Dr. Rollins-Felds, Vice Chair Kelly, members of the board, and Dr. Calveric. Tonight, I would like to share with you an overview of the planning process and recommendation for the 2022-23 Virtual Academy for grades 3 through 12. I want to share four segments of the Virtual Academy with you this evening. I will cover the objectives through the presentation, highlighting current legislation, CCPS virtual models and staffing criteria, and relevant data, cost, as well as a summary timeline. We'll begin with the legislation, which continues to be the key driver in the planning process. Senate Bill 1303, as we all know, provided a pathway for school districts to offer a virtual learning option for students. This bill states that any local school board may provide fully remote virtual instruction to any enrolled student at the request of the parent or guardian or legal custodian. The bill also states that students enrolled in a virtual option must meet local school attendance criteria, establish benchmarks, receive and participate in interventions as needed, or return to in-person learning. Therefore, the local school board has been provided the opportunity to best place students in their optimal learning success, whether it be virtual or present in the brick and mortar. Please keep in mind that the provisions outlined in this bill expire August 1, 2022. However, at this time, we do not foresee an automatic halt to the virtual learning model. Keeping that in mind, I want to take a moment to discuss the current CCPS virtual offerings. For elementary grades 3 through 5, currently the virtual model is available and supported by Caroline County Public Schools staff in a homegrown virtual learning model. Instruction is both synchronous and asynchronous daily. Students receive daily instruction provided by a teacher from one of the 3 elementary schools within the division. For example, a 4th grade student enrolled in Bowling Green has a teacher housed at Madison. However, even though a student may receive instruction from another school's teacher within the division, that student does participate in the clubs and after-school activities with their assigned geographical school. Currently, the Virtual Academy has 3 teachers. The Virtual Academy is serving 6% of the elementary population. Students in the Virtual Academy are receiving the same daily instruction based on pacing guides, lessons, and services as their in-person peers. Next, I want to share some performance data with you. As we dive into the performance data, please note that this is virtual students in comparison to the division-wide for grades 3 through 5 only. The virtual model we can see as virtual classrooms are consistently performing in reading and math and content areas in relation to the overall division averages. This data is based on the division common assessments for fall and spring. Also noted in the growth shows that across the fall to the spring indicates that the virtual classroom is providing appropriate instructions for all students as measured by their growth. Areas of decreased performance is consistent with the same decrease as the in-person learning group or across the division. Next, I will discuss the secondary level of virtual learning model. As we move to secondary, CCS has partnered with Virtual Virginia. Virtual Virginia provides the staffing and daily schedule for which consists of asynchronous and synchronous instruction. Students attend classes Monday through Thursday and have access to a teacher on Friday for their asynchronous days. Let's take a look at the data in relation to their performance for the year. During the first semester, as I reported earlier in the year, CCPS enrolled 92 secondary students with 266 enrollments. Enrollments are each class that a student takes for the semester. Keep in mind the distinction between an enrollment and a student because it's greatly different. There's 92 students with 266 enrollments. One student can have up to 7 per semester. Some of these students in the first semester were not successful in the virtual model and were placed back into the building even after interventions were put into place. During the second semester, CCPS has 61 students with 236 enrollments. The current pass rate is 96%. We are currently serving 2.27 of the total secondary population in the virtual model. As you can see from the chart in the spring, 236 total enrollments and 231 are passing. Many of these students are maintaining A's in all classes. This is significant because this is not an easy modality in Virtual Virginia. Their success speaks to the fact that this is their actual best learning modality. Of these five classes in which students are not passing, interventions are deployed to assist students in reaching their potential success. Now let's take a deeper dive into the secondary data. As you can see in the chart, we had 60 full-time students and 32 a la carte students in the fall. Of those 92 students, 63 students were passing their classes, and 29 students were not successful in that virtual model and were placed in a tier 1, 2, or 3 support intervention status. Those students not meeting the effective virtual learner criteria and failing with 2 or more D's or F's in tier 3 were placed back into the building at the semester. As we are moving through to the spring, CCPS currently has 38 students enrolled full-time and 10 a la carte students. Of the 48 total enrolled, 44 are passing all classes and 4 are not passing 1 or more enrollments. Of these 4, I do need to note that some of them are students with medical issues and we could not return them back to the building. This equals a 96 current pass rate, which I think is actually pretty decent for these students, especially in Virtual Virginia. Now I'd like to transition to the spring survey data. As CCPS plans for the next school year, considerations and recommendations for the implementation of virtual learning need reevaluation. It is important to noting going forward that a virtual learning environment is an optional learning environment depending on the recommendation of the data and the school district and the decision that is reevaluated annually. As we look towards the elementary of 22-23 school year, following is the process that CCPS has followed in gaining community information and determining decisions regarding continuing the virtual learning model. A parent survey was sent on multiple communications, including Messenger, email, Facebook, Dojo Messenger, CCPS website, and all of the individual school websites. As you see there in the graph, the Messenger was sent twice, the Facebook was sent twice. We let the community know that it was out there. The survey was open for 2 weeks. The survey was designed to capture the data from rising grades 2 through 4. The total projected 22-23 student population for these grades is 1,101. Of that population, 62 or 6% of the population responded to the survey. Of those 62 responses, 58 responded favorably for continuing virtual learning. 42 of the 62 are not interested in utilizing a virtual model for the 22-23 school year. As you can see in the data presented in the chart, the projection numbers for the next school year populations based on the current enrollment is 1,101. 6% of that population, or 62%, completed the survey. Of that, let's see where I go. Sorry, 6% of the population completes it. Of that, 36 or 58% want a virtual option for the 22-23 school year. 3% of the total rising 3rd and 4th grade are interested in continuing a virtual learning model. As we dig a little deeper into that data, rising 3rd graders and 5th grade students interested in the virtual model. Rising 4th grade has 18 interested, which is 53%, and 5th grade has 13 or 54%, with 3rd grade only having 5. Based on these numbers, there is a need to continue the virtual learning model for 4th and 5th grade. The need for 3rd grade class is not apparent at this time. Here you'll see the data in a visual chart. The data suggests that there is less interest and need in the community to continue with 3rd grade next year, and the recommendation is that the 3rd grade option would not be required or put into place for next year. The third through 5th data reveals that 36 students in grades 3 through 5 are interested in the virtual learning model. When comparing the 36 responses for the total enrollment for grades 3 through 5, this is 3% of our total population. Virtual interest for 3rd, 4th, and 5th grades could rise based on last year's trends. As we know, going into the beginning of last year, we had a significant rise. Now, that may have been due to not wanting masks or wanting masks or the spike in COVID. So as we fall closer into the summer, trends and data from the community may take a turn. Now we look at secondary data. A parent survey was sent out on multiple communications, including Messenger, email, Facebook, Dojo Message, CCPS website, and the individual school websites. The survey was open for 2 weeks. The survey was designed to capture data from rising grades 5 through 11. The total projected secondary population for the 22-23 school year is 2,411. The survey yielded 207 total responses, with 54% of the population desiring a virtual learning experience and 46% not favoring a virtual learning model. And looking at the totals for secondary, the current number is 111, or 54% of the 207 responses, which equals 5% of the total secondary population. Some students that are interested in various programs at the high school may decide to return in person, or some students may not meet the effective virtual learning criteria guidelines established by the VDOE. Digging a little deeper into the secondary survey responses and looking at the grade level data, you can see that there is uneven response from most of the grade levels. I think that it is important to note that the 7th grade has a significant number of students interested in the virtual learning model, with 29 students total in 7th grade. The costs associated with the virtual academy when compared to in-person learning are mainly associated with our contract vendor, Virtual Virginia. Virtual Virginia charges per course based on the division's local composite index. Currently, we are in Band 2 at 0.4090. This results in our cost per course per student as $350. This is an increase of $100 per student per enrollment in comparison to the current year. Each student enrolled in Virtual Virginia will take a full course load of 7 to 8 courses for a total cost, if they took 8, $2,800 per student. This cost will be covered by CCPS through ADM monies. In April, CCPS will reach out with letters to homeschool families in order to see if we can get those that are currently in homeschool to join us in our Virtual Virginia endeavor. Keeping in mind that some students that are interested in the virtual learning model may not meet the effective virtual learner criteria. Therefore, our virtual learning model student numbers will probably decline between now and July 15th, which is the Virtual Virginia end date for enrollment. Once a student has selected a desire to participate in virtual learning, there are certain criteria that each model has set up for students to meet their total success. Virtual learning criteria consist of data that will be collected from the teachers, counselors, administration for each building. The criteria then shifts to a virtual student profile evaluation consisting of passing classes, meeting attendance requirements, and successful virtual work habits. Examples of successful work habits include, but are not limited to, completing tasks on time, working independently, being organized, and being highly engaged. The goal for all students is to provide them with the best modality of learning to ensure success. In some cases, the data may reveal that attending school in person will yield a greater success for our students. Once a student is enrolled virtually, there will be incremental progress checks, monitoring based on attendance, academic performance, and virtual work habits. If a student falls below the incremental thresholds, immediate interventions will take place, which may include returning into in-person learning environment. Here is an example of an effective virtual learner criteria. It is defined by the Virginia Department of Education as having access to a device and internet, attendance consistent with local school board policy, consistent engagement in the learning activities, two-way communication between the student and the teacher, complete and submit work in a timely manner, demonstrate mastery of the material as demonstrated through assignments and assessments, utilize available services, and demonstrate a positive digital citizenship. This rubric will be used to determine if an interested student meets the criteria. This rubric will also be used on students that are enrolled in their performance history as we go through quarterly and through the semesters to determine if the students are successful in the virtual learning model. Finally, we will review the timeline and the planning process. This slide describes the timeline and the planning process and moving forward with initiating the virtual academy for the 22-23 school year. Planning began in January with collecting performance data and creating surveys. The planning involved collaboration with Virtual Virginia, as well as our CHS and CMS leadership and administration. February through March, surveys were sent through the elementary and secondary levels and the student interest for families desiring to enroll in Virtual Virginia. During the month of March, survey data was sent to counselors, and the student online readiness rubric was sent out to counselors and teachers to begin filling out. Moving forward into April, an outreach form to reach homeschool students will be sent. During April, online applications for the elementary teachers will reopen, allowing teachers to apply for the 4th and 5th grade positions for virtual teachers. An informational session or Q&A will take place on May 4th in order to answer questions and provide further insight for the division's virtual academy for those that have responded and having an interest to include our homeschool population. Our social media outlets and messaging systems will send out additional information in regards to that Q&A as well as follow-up from that. Families still interested in their child being a virtual learner will have until April 30th to make that request. Those requests will be taken by contacting the child's school of record Schools will notify the families of students selected for virtual learner no later than May 6th, with the enrollment of all virtual courses to be completed by May 27th. Exceptions will be made to enrollments for new students in the division to include any previous homeschool students, as well as meet the Virtual Virginia enrollment deadline by July 15th. The secondary level will maintain our teacher to student ratios at the elementary level based on our SOQs. In closing, many students are successful in the virtual model. Others are successful in the brick and mortar. As we continue to plan for our 22-23 school year, CCPS truly wants to provide our students with the most personalized learning instruction. Providing a virtual option allows us to provide another modality for students to be employed, enrolled, and/or enlisted. At this time, the recommendation is to provide a locally owned virtual learning model in grades 3 and 5, and to continue our partnership with Virtual Virginia for grades 6 through 12. I'll take any questions that you have.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
Mr. Stoughton?
First of all, I'm not a virtual person, so I'm gonna get that all out of the way right off. Who requests this most of the time, the students or the parents, to take the virtual part?
We send out the survey to the secondary students and parents, and the parents typically go in and complete the survey. So the parents are requesting the virtual for our surveys and gathering our data. If our students actually fill out our survey forms and we contact the parents and the parents are not interested, we take them off.
Is it mostly they work better by themselves, or they just, or what?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand your question.
In other words, not in a classroom, they do better at home working on the,
Yes,
the
sir.
virtual.
Yes, sir. They find that they learn better, have less stress, less anxiety. It's better for their social emotional well-being or mental health, or it's just they like that idea of being more independent with their learning so that it works for them. So it is a stay at home and work in your own space learning modality.
One more question. If I'm taking a class and I'm not doing very well in it virtually and this sort of thing, I want to go back to school. How do you connect the two together there? Where are you and where is the teacher that they're going into?
So if a student is in the elementary level, the elementary classes, grades 3, 4, and 5, they follow the same pacing guide, same lessons as their in-person students. So if they decide that they're not doing well or it's not the correct learning modality for them, it's very easy for them to just stop doing virtual and come back into the building. That's it's like just change it in Power School and they come into the building and they get a teacher and they fall right into where they are. It's a little more complicated with Virtual Virginia. Virtual Virginia moves at a slightly faster pace and they tend to offer a lot of extra things in the class. So typically what happens is we try to build in supports for the students throughout the semester, and once we reach a end of the semester, then we decide if that student is not doing well or that student wants to come back, then they won't enroll in this following semester. So they're pretty much committed to that first semester once they get in there, so that when we bring them back second semester, it's much easier transition for them.
Virtual Virginia was what I had in mind, you know.
That would be the second.
We may not be on the same timeline and so forth, no.
Correct.
And it seems to me like there's a lot of space wasted in there on something like that. Because, you know, I may want to, virtual, I think that's great. It's just like playing games and so forth. No, it's not like playing games. It's like a classroom.
Mm-hmm.
But I get into it and I don't get into it. Now I want to go back to the high school or wherever, and all of a sudden it's a different ball game. Where am I?
Well, typically Virtual Virginia, because they don't offer a fall break or a spring break, we are a little bit behind them. So when the students come back to us, if they do need to leave Virtual Virginia, they start a week earlier. And so by the time they come back to us, we're catching up with where they are. So they really don't miss anything from a transition from virtual back into the building. Now, we can't move a student from the building into Virtual Virginia in the middle of the year because they would be a good week or two behind. So it is much easier to move from virtual back into the building you can't go the other way around. You will lose a big chunk. But if you leave Virtual Virginia, let's say in November, and you come back into the building, that you won't miss anything out of that pocket. And anything that is missed, we make sure that we remediate with our teachers in the building.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions? We do not entertain questions from the audience at this time, but we do have a citizens' comment period, okay? Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much for your thorough presentation and the work that you're doing to support the students in Virtual Virginia and the Virtual Academy overall. Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, we will have our April monthly updates on revenue, expenditures, and ADM, and I'd ask Ms. Stevens to please come forward at this time.
Good evening, Chair Dr. Rollins-Fells, Vice Chair Kelly, members of the board, and Dr. Calveric. I will present the March FY22 financials to you. We have for revenues for operations, 2.9 or $3 million for the month, 33.7 million for the year, and 70.97%. For our special grant funds, we're at 425,000 for the month, 3.6 million for the year, or 24%. So year to date, on our revenues for the month is 3.4 million, 37.3 million year to date, and 59.61%. For our expenditures for operations, we're at 4.8 million for the month, 31.9 million year to date, or 67.07%. And special grants, 1.15 million for the month, 4.7 million for the year, or 30.71% for the year. So our total expenditures for the month, we were rolling out pretty well, $6 million for the month of March, 36.5 million for year to date, and 58.26 is our percentage. As of March 30th, we received January reports from the Treasurer's Office, and staff has reviewed those and reconciled those reports. Are there any questions on the March financials?
Are there any questions from the board? None at this time, Ms. Stevens.
Thank you. I will move on to the March ADM report. For the month of March, we had a decline of ADM to 4,066.591. Year to date is still running at 4,089.421. As you all know, March 31st is that magic date, and IT staff is currently working on the data pool in order to submit it to VDOE. Fingers crossed that we will remain around 4,090 when we have a final report from the state back on our data. Any questions on the ADM report?
Questions on ADM? It's detailed and thorough.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Stevens. And thank you for your patience this evening. We've had probably about an hour of just recognition, so that's really great. We are finished with our information from the district, and now we are going to open the floor for our citizens' comments. I will go over the instructions for citizens' comments so that there is an understanding of how the process works, and we always welcome community feedback. So the guidelines for our public comment period are as follows. We welcome public comment during our regular meeting, during our public comment period, which is now. We ask that you would please come to the front if you have not already signed up, and there is a sign-in form that will ask you for your name and your voting district. Each speaker may speak for up to 3 minutes, And you will notice a traffic light at the end of the table. That traffic light has green, yellow, and red. That will be your cue for the timing of your speaker comments. You may begin speaking when the green light is on. After 2 minutes, the yellow light will turn on. And then when you have 1 minute remaining, the red light will turn on. And we ask at that time that you would please respect the rules and conclude your statement. Speakers may address any item on our agenda tonight, or you may address an item that's not on the agenda during the citizens' comment period. Your comments should address a matter related to Caroline County Public Schools, but we will not hear individual student-related matters or personnel-related matters out of respect for the guidelines and the rules and laws surrounding that. A disclosure of that type of information would violate our confidentiality requirements. You may not defer your time to another person, and we will enforce the rules. The speaker may be limited to a presentation of your point of view only. And the board, just to manage expectations, this is the period of time where we will listen, but it is not, according to our bylaws, where we will engage in a back and forth dialogue. So we will hear you, we will take notes, and we will follow up. Individual speakers speaking on behalf of an organized group should file with the clerk an authorization form from that said group allowing the individual to represent them. The final statement about our citizens' comments is that Caroline County expects that each speaker will be courteous, modeling for our students how one can respectfully disagree with others' points of view. The speaker will address their comments to the entire school board and not to one individual board member, nor to the superintendent, a staff member, or anyone else in the audience. Speakers are encouraged to not engage in personal attacks, and you will present your comments from the lectern below. At this time, I'm going to ask the clerk if there's anyone who has signed up in advance for citizens' comments.
There were none that signed up prior to the meeting start.
Wonderful. I know that someone mentioned earlier that they have a comment. So, ma'am, at this time, come to the front. Good evening. I'd ask that you sign the clipboard there with your name and your voting district.
I think I'm Madison County,
Okay.
I think.
And if there are any others that would like to make citizens' comments, and this is your first time, again, we welcome you, but this is the process that we ask that you follow.
We only two parents here.
Thank you. All right.
Give us this.
You can set it to the side if you'd like. And then just state your name and tell me where you're from, and then you'll begin your comments.
My name is Laura Marks, and I'm from Lake Landor in Caroline.
Okay.
My question is, why are we still offering virtual learning to children? We did not prior to the pandemic, and it seems like it's very costly to continue to do that. And we talk about how we're here for our children emotionally and support and stuff. I feel like children that are stuck at home, cooped in a room, that do not get out and meet friends and be social, do school activities, things like that, I think it puts them into more of a depression. And I see that it is costing our schools a lot of money to do online versus in school. And I think that, you know, virtual learning should only be for, you know, medical reasons, things like that, like it was prior to the pandemic. You know, the numbers are lifting as far as the amount of cases and so forth, and it's not gonna go anywhere. We're gonna have COVID for the rest of our life, just like we have the flu and pneumonia. It's something that's not gonna go away. So to continue to take money that could be allotted for other things, like teacher income, you know, maintenance, things like that, it just doesn't make sense to me. So that's all I have to say.
That concludes your comments for this evening?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much, and we ask that the audience please not respond.
Thank you.
Are there any other citizens' comments this evening? Having said that, the citizens' comment period is closed, and we thank you for respecting the rules of the meeting, and thank you for coming down and learning how to do it. At this time, we will move into our action items, and this is where the board will be making decisions about several different things. Tonight, we will start off with Dr. Monroe with the approval of the albuterol policy, and I'd ask that Ms. Foster be ready to come right after him.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Rollins-Fells, Vice Chair Kelly, members of the board, and Dr. Calveric. At the March school board meeting, Mr. Wick shared policy JHCD-R3 albuterol, and this policy now requires schools to possess and administer undesignated stock albuterol, metered dosed inhalers, and valved holding chambers. The legislation requires nurses and backup nurses who administer albuterol to be trained annually, and it provides requirements for procurement, storage, administration, and post-administration of the medication. Tonight, if there are no further questions, I would ask the board to adopt the revisions made to policy JHCD-R3 albuterol.
The chair will entertain a motion to approve our albuterol policy.
So moved.
The motion has been made by Mr. Kelly, second by Mr. Copeland. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'd ask the clerk to please call for the vote.
Mrs. Carson?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Mr. Spalding? Mr. Copeland?
Aye.
Mr. Taylor?
Aye.
Dr. Rollins-Fells?
Aye, the motion carries. The policy is approved. Mrs. Foster will now come forward with the approval of GBMA support staff grievance procedures. Mrs. Foster?
Certainly, and I shouldn't have said final. So good evening once again, Madam Chair, Dr. Rollins-Fells, Vice Chair Kelly, members of the board, and Dr. Calveric. Tonight, I come back to you in regards to policy GMBA, support staff grievances for approval. Revisions were found and presented to you in March in the draft board documents. And this evening, we are requesting adoption of the revised policy based upon VSBA and our attorney's recommendations for additions, deletions, and omissions from the previous policy. At this time, do you have any questions?
Are there any questions? I do have one I want to clarify. You stated something a little different than what we have written. GBMA.
Yes, a little bit dyslexic there. I apologize.
That's all right. It's a lot of letters and it's
Yes.
late. Having said that, the chair will entertain a motion to approve policy GBMA, support staff grievance procedures.
So moved.
Mr. Kelly with the motion, Mr. Copeland with the second. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'd ask the clerk to call the vote.
Mr. Taylor?
Aye.
Mr. Copeland?
Aye.
Mr. Spalding?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Mrs. Carson?
Aye.
Dr. Rollins-Fells?
Aye, the motion carries. The policy is approved.
Thank you.
Next, we will have Dr. Monroe to come forward with the VSBA February 2022 policies.
Good evening, Chair Dr. Rollins-Fells, Vice Chair Kelly, members of the board, and Dr. Calveric. The Virginia School Board Association provides updates in February and May of each year that are based on changes in law and regulations. In addition, a few policies are revised for editorial reasons or to correct technical errors. In the following presentation from March, we have the policies that are currently being revised and or reviewed by Caroline County Public Schools. So tonight, we are requesting the adoption of the revised policies.
Outstanding. We have seen these policies before. We've had our first read, so now it's time to approve them. And so at this time, I'd entertain a motion to approve. Who is
Second.
that? Are you rushing me, Mr. Spalding? I'm sorry. Mr. Spalding, that was you with the motion. That's all right. We did a little pick-me-up right there. I was waiting for Dr. Monroe to read them all.
Thank you, Coach.
The motion has been made by Mr. Spalding. Is there a second?
So moved. Second.
Come on, Mr. Kelly. The motion has been made by Mr. Spalding, second by Mr. Kelly. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'd ask the clerk to please call for the vote.
Mrs. Carson? Aye. Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Mr. Spalding? Aye. Mr. Copeland? Aye. Mr. Taylor?
Aye.
Dr. Rollins-Fells?
Aye, the motion carries. The VSBA policies are approved.
Thank you.
Mrs. Markwood, I'd ask for you to please come forward with the approval of the CCPS Perkins grant proposal.
Good evening, Dr. Rollins-Fells, Vice Chair Kelly, members of the school board, and Dr. Calveric. Caroline County Public Schools will be submitting an application for the Perkins Grant for Career and Technical Education. The 2022-23 grant application is completed based on the 2021-22 grant fund allocation in the amount of $80,993.12. The focus of the budget will be upgrades to the AutoCAD lab, the criminal justice program, and the nursing program. Also, Perkins funds will be allocated to new courses, including entrepreneurship course and the proposed cybersecurity fundamentals course, which will be the start to the business information technology pathway. The grant application will be submitted by April 29, 2022. At this point, I'd like to ask for the board's approval upon the second reading of the CTE Perkins Grant this evening.
So moved.
Second.
The motion has been made and properly seconded by Mrs. Carson, second by Mr. Taylor to approve the CCPS Perkins Grant. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'd ask the clerk to call for the vote.
Mr. Taylor?
Aye.
Mr. Copeland?
Aye.
Mr. Spalding? Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Mrs. Carson?
Aye.
Dr. Rollins-Fells?
Aye, the motion carries. Thank you, Mrs. Markwood. We will now have Lynn Miller to please come forward with the IDEA Flow-Through Funds Annual Plan.
Good evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Rollins-Fells, Vice Chair Mr. Kelly, members of the board, and Dr. Calveric. Tonight you have before you the second read of the Special Education Annual Plan. A hard copy has been provided to you of the application. This plan is a required component for receiving federal funds for special education. As a reminder, the request is for approval of the annual plan application. The combined Part B and Part C federal funds would cover 12 special education teachers serving school-age students, 1 behavior specialist, partial funding for 1 ECSE teacher, and the stipend for the ECSE coordinator. The proportionate set-aside requirement for this year is projected to be $35,830.40. This is to cover services for eligible students who reside in Caroline County but are not enrolled in public schools. This is for eligible students in parentally placed private schools, students who are homeschooled, or preschool-age children identified by our Child Find program who are in need of services. I would be happy to answer any questions that you may have at this time.
Any questions on that application? I know that we received it last month and had an opportunity to review. Okay. No pending questions, and so at this time, the chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
The motion has been made to approve the IDEA Flow-Through Funds Annual Plan. I'd ask that the clerk will please call for the vote.
Mrs. Carson? Aye. Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Mr. Spalding? Mr. Copeland?
Aye.
Mr. Taylor?
Aye.
Dr. Rollins-Fells?
Aye, the motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Our last action item for this evening is Dr. Monroe. We'd ask you to please come forward with the fee schedule for 22-23 school year.
Great evening, Madam Chair, Dr. Rollins-Fells, Vice Chair Kelly, members of the board, and Dr. Calveric. Policy Regulation JN-R, student fees, fines, and charges, has been reviewed and updated for the 2022-2023 school year, and the revisions and additions were shared at the March school board meeting. There was one question in regards to the $225 repeat course fee. That fee has been removed as we do not charge students needing to repeat a course for verified credits any longer. So if there are no further questions for the 2022-2023 student fees, I would like to ask the board's approval this evening.
Okay, the chair will entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I move for approval of the student fees as presented.
Second.
The motion has been made and properly second. Any discussion? Thank you for following up on my question.
Thank you.
Ask the clerk to please call for the vote.
Mr. Taylor?
Oh.
Aye.
Mr. Copeland? Mr. Spalding? Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Mrs. Carson? Aye. Dr. Rollins-Fells?
Aye, the motion carries. This fee schedule is approved.
Point of order, I'm sorry. Who did the second on that?
That was Mr. Copeland.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have one item for new business, and Dr. Reed, I don't know how you're gonna handle this board, but it's the first read of our cybersecurity class.
Good evening. Madam Chair, Dr. Rollins-Fells, Vice Chair Kelly, members of the board, and Dr. Calveric. It is my pleasure to present to you the first read of the proposed course, Cybersecurity Fundamentals. This will be an entry-level course that will begin Caroline High School's plan for cybersecurity, as well as a pathway for certifications and career readiness at Caroline High School. A major point of focus for the current Caroline County Public Schools strategic plan is preparing students for employment. The introduction of a cybersecurity course will not only open a pathway for employment for our students, but it will also prepare them for the challenges of the 21st century. According to the Department of Labor's OneNet online database, the need for cybersecurity-related positions will grow at a 9% rate annually between 2018 and 2028 in Virginia as well as nationally. Upon the board's approval of the entry-level course, Cybersecurity Fundamentals, our students will have the opportunity to be prepared to meet this critical need. In addition, this course will launch a pathway that will prepare students for other related fields such as computer science, engineering, and information technology. To add, our students will be able to obtain a number of certifications such as C++ Certified Entry-Level Programmer, Security Plus, and Workplace Readiness. Earlier this year, a survey was conducted among students in grades 6 through 11 to gauge the interest in cybersecurity entry-level courses and a potential pathway. There were 596 responses and 119 students expressed interest. 19 of our rising 8th graders stated they are willing to change their elective to create our entry-level class, which is the first step in obtaining certification. Caroline High School has begun the process of implementing this course as well as preparing a foundation for a continuous career and technical education pathway in the next few years. As indicated earlier, surveys have been conducted to gauge interest and possible enrollment. We also have identified a pathway that will expand beyond this first course. An application has been submitted to the Virginia Department of Education that has met all requirements. We hope to receive VDOE approval prior to the second read in May. Once we receive VDOE and school board approval, we will post for the position. Upon approval of the Cybersecurity Fundamentals course, Caroline High School has created a 4-year plan to provide opportunities for further learning in this critical field. Students who choose this pathway will begin with Cybersecurity Fundamentals, followed by Cybersecurity Operations and the Cybersecurity Operations Advanced course in Year 3. As a culmination to their training and studies, students will be able to apply what they have learned in an internship setting in Year 4. We believe that this concentration sequence will best prepare our learners not only for certifications, but for future employment options in the cybersecurity field. Thank you, and at this time, I will answer any questions that the board may have.
Are there any questions from the board on this first read? Hearing none, we're excited. We know there's approvals, and we look forward to next month when you'll bring an update back.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Reed. We are at the conclusion of our new business, and now I will look to my right, and we will open the floor for board committee reports and board comments. Mr. Taylor.
Thank you. I do have a brief report on the Diversity Committee. We have been meeting, and we are still meeting, and we're basically looking at cultures and the importance of cultures. We're looking at trainings. We're also looking at a proposal for the retreat, and just in general, just the importance of different cultures and how learning is involved with knowing why people think the way they think and why they do what they do. And the more we understand about different cultures, the easier it is for us to deal with them. And I guess in closing, we would just say that a few years ago, there were probably just maybe 1 or 2 different racial groups in Caroline County, but just as Caroline County is changing, the state, the world is changing. People are coming from different countries and bringing with them different ideas, and if we don't learn to work with them successfully, they won't be successful in school. And our job is to teach all children, regardless as to where they come from. So that's my report as far as that's concerned. The only other thing that I have, as far as closing comments, I was able to visit the middle school and be a part of the STEM program, or watch the STEM program in action. The students had some fantastic inventions, and we were able to look at many of the inventions and where the students are going and how they are thinking. And I was very proud of what I saw. I thought that there was just a phenomenal amount of science and with the inventions and with the STEM program. So I just want to congratulate the middle school and the staff who was a part of that program. It was very good, it was very interesting, and I think the students learned a great deal. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Mr. Copeland?
I don't have much, just that the governor's school, Commonwealth Governor's School's got an upcoming invoice approval that I have to sign off on. And I'm really pleased with the creation of the cybersecurity course. That's obviously, we've taken what used to be a college level program and issue and now gotten it down to our elementary schools. That's incredible. And that just speaks well of the forward-lookingness of our division and the instructors within the staff. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Copeland. Mr. Spalding?
Yes, I do.
Bring them on.
You know me, I don't talk that much. But tonight, I wish what I'm going to say now, I could have said it when we had a full crowd, you know. It's like me, I'm preaching to the choir now, but maybe people in television land or who's watching us and so forth and all, well, when you see one of these students that I'm going to be mentioning tonight, tell them it's a job well done. as I've told you before, I keep track of all our athletes at the high school. When their name gets in the paper, I know it, and if I see them on the street or at school or my neighborhood and all, I always say something about it. Let me give you an example here. Freelance Star, I might be a little bit long. The Freelance Star covers 19 high schools in this area. Did you realize there were that many? 19. And to be nominated for anything, whether it be first team, second team, honorable mention, or whatever, it's an honor. Because you take 19 high schools times goodness knows how many athletes. All right, give you an example here. All right, this is wrestling. We had Shane Shirley, and we had Malik Tunstall. Honorable mention, okay? No, it's okay. Swimming, we had Addison Molenkamp. Is that correct? Okay. Girls basketball, we had Jayla Pickett. Is that right? Jayla? Is that the way you pronounce it? Anyway, okay. And the thing that I was really so proud of and disappointed too was the boys' winter basketball. Jay Freeman was first team. He should have been player of the year in my mind. I just couldn't wait to look at the paper on Sunday morning and open it up and see his picture there. Well, his picture's there. He made the first team and all. But anyway, he made first team, honorable mention. Gabe Campbell should have been up there too. You know I'm biased, but I saw him play quite a few games this year, and I'm a fairly decent judge of talent. And also Dominique Washington. These are 3 of them out of the 5 that were, and so forth. And I think I've, is that all? And I have to apologize to the indoor track team. I know we had 4 or 5 names. I threw the paper away before I had a chance to cut it out and so forth. But anyway, my point is, we've got some great kids out there, got some coaches that are doing a great job, and I'm real proud of them. So if you know any of these kids' names or you see them at all, tell them what a good job they did, okay? Thank you. That's all I got to say.
Thank you, Mr. Spalding. Mr. Kelly?
A report from the Gifted Advisory Committee. We looked at historically underrepresented populations, which makes me think of Mr. Taylor and the Diversity Committee, and maybe we should do a joint meeting together when we're looking at historically underrepresented populations, because part of the struggle for us is because we know, like, giftedness doesn't know any boundaries at all, right? It doesn't care about what your ethnicity, your race is, your religion, and how much money your parents make, right? Smart kids are smart kids, and it's like, how do we reach them is part of the problem that we had. So maybe we should get together and talk about us getting together as a group and trying to hash out those problems. We had a constituent meeting earlier, a couple of weeks ago, which I thought went really well, talking about the budget. So I'd like to thank the staff that showed up for that, because sometimes constituents will ask you those really specific, hard questions, and my answer is always the same. Marcia? And so thank you for being there, and for everybody else for helping out with that. Moving forward, it would be great. I know that the high school has worked an awful lot with dress code, and a lot of meetings have gone into this. I already asked Mr. Just about this, and he said it's not just a high school dress code. It's a dress code for everybody. So I hope that we can, by next year, we have the opportunity to reevaluate what we're doing and get more community input. Post-COVID participation, I just noticed this tonight, because our policy used to be that we would sit here and we would hold all applause until everybody was up here. And I think it's great that we're giving each individual the attention that they deserve, because I think that's a celebration of not just them as individuals, but us as a community, giving them these opportunities and making us so proud. Last thing I have, and this is just something I'd like to see us look at, and it just popped into my head. because Coach Spalding used to do this, because he used to make his whole staff go get their CDL licenses and drive buses. And I think that that's something that we should probably reach out to our staff that coach sports and athletics. And because, number one, it helps us get drivers when we're running events, but they basically can get paid to drive their kids up there extra. And I think that that would help us check off some boxes as well. So, Madam Chair, that concludes my comments.
Thank you, Mr. Kelly. Ms. Carson?
I have a few. I'm going to also speak to the STEM projects at CMS and MES. They were extensive, thought-provoking. From CMS, I think my favorite one that I saw was two young ladies had created an app and a website for the middle school where the students could go in and ask things and have questions answered, and it was just amazing what these girls had come up with. And my favorite one was one of the preschool ones at Madison Elementary School, where they did a picture, and it was so cute, with 4-year-olds trying to explain to you. And this was Humpty Dumpty didn't crack when he fell because there was a pillow there. And and they explained the whole process, and it was amazing to hear them tell it. And then I represent the Madison district, and this time of year, spring has sprung. We're on the last home stretch, and it's the end of the getting to the end of the 9 weeks. And CCPS has faced and overcome many challenges this year, from hiring, retaining, recruiting personnel, to living with and gladly without masks, and to prove that we have overcome and survived a pandemic. Now we need to remember, and this is pretty much for the students and the parents, that we have policies in place that need to be followed for the rest of this year. And one is dress code, because spring is sprung, and I know people like to get all ready for spring. The discipline policy, the cell phone policy, and appropriate behavior on the bus and everywhere else. CCPS faculty and staff should not have to become the policy police. Our CCPS employees are dedicated, overworked, we're understaffed, but we care and love the work that they do for us and that they do daily. Please remember to follow the rules. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Carson. A timely reminder. Mr. Swanton?
All right, I just wanted to touch on a point that both Ms. Foster and Ms. Carson have already made through tonight from more of a student's perspective, and that is the importance that our teaching and support staff play with us. As a Carolina High School junior, there have been several teachers that have contributed to my academic success and growth as a student. As a student with parents who teach in the county, I've experienced many of the behind-the-scene aspects of teaching. The teachers in our school district genuinely care about every student that comes through the school system. This genuine care can be found coming from all teachers. This care is reflected in the work done by our teachers. Many of our teachers serve double duty, working as both teachers and coaches. The mentorship that CCPS staff provides through their many roles is very meaningful to our students. Our teachers are responsible for developing society's greatest into the leaders of tomorrow. It is for these reasons I would like to advocate that both our Board of Supervisors and School Board work to continue to increase support and compensation for teachers in Caroline County Public Schools.
Thank you. Mr. Swanton is our student school board representative, and your voice is very important. Thank you so much. I will conclude with my board comments and committee reports. In terms of committee reports, we did have the VSBA Eastern Region meeting since our last board meeting, where our own staff and Dr. Calveric was the leader in that. She presented creative ways and compliant ways to use COVID funds, so thank you, Dr. Calveric. I also attended the Southwest Region meeting where they had Dr. Adolph Brown as the presenter. Following that, I've also attended the VPOS, which is the Virginia Partnership for Out of School Time board meeting. I have been appointed to that board, and so that committee is looking at legislation and also working with joint partners and with the Department of Education for strategic and meaningful activities for students when they are not in school. Coming up this month, I will be attending the Tidewater and the Northwest VSBA regional meetings. And we also had a joint constituent meeting, which we have not done before. I thought it was an excellent opportunity to explain in plain English all of the teacherese and board language that we use here, and just break it down and talk about our processes. As such, the call to action is for our community to visit our website, become informed about what we are advocating for in our school budget, and it is really simple. Teacher compensation, that is our top priority. And we invite you to come out tomorrow night and to be very much involved and informed in the budgetary process. I want to say a special shout out to the staff at Bowling Green Elementary for the science fair. Again, like Mrs. Carson, it was very interesting to hear a 4-year-old and a 5-year-old explain making a rainbow out of Skittles and water versus Sprite. So thank you for that. And then the last thing that I would like to say is just, again, thank you for our citizens feeling comfortable to come out. Our doors are open here at the board meeting, and I appreciate the decorum and the respect that you have so that this board meeting continues to be a business meeting and not something that is not professional and less than desirable. So I appreciate that. There are several action items that the community needs to hear, and that is April 30th. You need to please make sure that if you have an interest in the virtual academy, that deadline has a hard date. Please make sure that you are following up and paying attention to that communication. And kindergarten registration is open, and so if you have children, we want to make sure that we get them enrolled and get them enrolled early so you'll have time to support them. And then last but not least, if you have any inkling that you have a passion for kids, that you have a desire to serve, there are volunteer opportunities, there are several committees that you can serve on, there's an opportunity for you to actually work with our students. And with that, it is a structured environment, and I want to say that out loud. So from the HR perspective, that is structured. From the virtual academy perspective, that is structured, all the way down to our school bus drivers. So there is a process involved. We are looking for credentialed candidates or those who are seeking credentialing. And we as teachers, we've got to tell the story. So if you want to be an actor or an actress, if you have an interest in being a news broadcaster on television, you want to speak on stage, that classroom is your stage. It is a place to build relationships where many years later you have people like Mr. Spalding who are still cutting out newspaper articles for his own personal reasons to celebrate you. So that is my plug for education and CCPS and my committee reports. I'll turn it over to Dr. Calveric for her superintendent's comments.
Excuse me, before you do that, could I just say one thing? The Fredericksburg Fredericksburg Food Bank will be here on tomorrow, and I meant to say that. They will be here tomorrow afternoon, and so if anybody would know of any persons who may be in need of food, if they come by tomorrow afternoon, they have all kinds of food that they give away, and you just need to come and get it. So if you know anybody that's in need, if there's anybody listening that might know somebody, we would ask that you take advantage of that. Thank you.
That's helpful. Thank you, Mr. Taylor. Dr. Calveric?
Thank you, Dr. Rollins-Fells. Just want to begin by saying welcome back to staff and students from spring break, and let's finish strong in these final 6 weeks. On Friday, April 1st, right prior to break, we visited 3 buildings to announce and recognize the county support, novice, and teacher of the year. We are excited to highlight and recognize these staff members at the May school board meeting, but I would not want to wait to publicly announce their names one more time. And so we extend continued congratulations to Bowling Green Elementary School first grade teacher, Jamie Carter. Ms. Carter was recognized as the CCPS Division Teacher of the Year. We also recognize the Caroline High School World History 1 and African American Studies teacher, Ms. Haley Randall Taylor. Ms. Randall Taylor is a novice teacher of the year representing Caroline County Public Schools. And finally, this is a really exciting story, Ms. Alexis Clemens. She is a paraprofessional at Lewis and Clark Elementary School in the autism classroom, and she is going to be student teaching in the upcoming fall. And we are so excited to watch her journey in transitioning from a paraprofessional into hopefully a future CCPS classroom teacher. So she was our Caroline County Public Schools Support Staff Employee of the Year. So many talents amongst these three women. A special thank you to the Mix House. If you have not seen our post on Facebook, this fabulous partner in education has embraced our artwork from Bowling Green Elementary, and our students' work is proudly on display. Please stop by, enjoy a nice beverage, and take note of our students' talents on the wall. I also do want to give a second shout out this evening to Miss McHenry. Miss McHenry is the teacher who so beautifully instructed our little Grizzly students with the American Sign Language Pledge of Allegiance tonight, and how powerful to instill the love of ASL in our children in our Caroline community. And then finally, one additional kudos to our CTE Teachers for Tomorrow program, who we recognize this evening. They are not yet done with their journey in this role. They are headed to our 3 elementary schools over the next 48 hours to deliver yet again a fabulous lesson to all of our 5th graders. So really looking forward to watching these students blossom and hopefully developing some future scholarships on their behalf. That is all I have for this evening. I yield the floor. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Calveric. At this time, the chair will entertain a motion to move into closed session for the purpose of discussing the superintendent's personnel agenda, the discussion of compensation, school improvement, appointments, resignations, reclassifications, requests for family medical leave, stipends, and coaches as authorized by Section 2.2-3711A, subsection 1 of the Code of Virginia 1950 as amended.
So moved.
Second.
The motion was made by Mr. Kelly, second by Mrs. Carson. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'd ask the clerk to please call for the vote.
Ms. Carson?
Aye.
Mr. Kelly?
Aye.
Mr. Spalding? Mr. Copeland? Mr. Taylor?
Aye.
Dr. Rollins-Fells?
Aye, the motion carries. We will now move into closed session. Thank you to all who are attending in person and those watching online.